Good morning traders and welcome to today's live trading. Today is the 1st of November, it's a Thursday, and as usual we are on the FTSE 100. So to quickly run you through my analysis for today, you can see that price is currently set around the 70-80 level. I've got a band marked in around this level, so between 70.95 to 70.80. I've got one above around the 7120 level and one below around the 7040 level. This one's quite a bit bigger. Other than that, I do have some bands above and below price currently, but just with general daily movement, I wouldn't expect it to get too far past these bands. So if it does, I'll just mark them in as and when price starts to look like it's going to make its way towards those. But for now, I will just keep these bands marked in. And as far as immediate trade setups go, I don't have anything glaring that I'm looking at just at the moment. If I show you the hourly chart, you can see we've been making some decent headway to the bullish side, and we're just in this sort of retracement mode at the moment. I haven't got a touch of this ATMA that I like to see before price moves past it. So currently on the hourly chart, even though we've been making higher highs, higher lows, somewhat bearish just looking at this chart at the moment. And then again, if we look at the 4 hour, you can see, of course, we've been making these higher highs, higher lows, but on this chart we have yet to properly break the ATMA. So it's only the current candle that's poking through it at the moment. There's definitely the potential for this to come back up and finish above the ATMA. This opened at 5 o'clock, so it will close at 9 o'clock. So it's got basically the first hour's worth of price action to get back above that band. So potentially what it would be good to see is, if I go back to the 5-minute chart, maybe an opportunity to get long up to sort of the 7-110 level. That could be decent. The only thing going against that obviously is the hourly chart that we just looked at, which for me is looking just a little bit bearish at the moment. It would have been nice to see a test of the ATMA, but sometimes you can't have everything your own way, so you just have to be cautious. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking at this morning. Potentially a move upwards, but obviously if price starts coming down straight from the open, then if it does give us an opportunity to get short, I might take that. Alternatively, I would not be opposed at all to taking a long from this band here. We'll just have to see how price moves really. We've got plenty of news today, starting from about 10:30. British pound news all the way to 1:30. So yeah, decent amount of news, especially around 1 o'clock. So we'll just play it by ear really and see how we get on. So I'll catch you after the open. So we're now 10 past 8, and what I wanted to show you quickly was basically the price action we'd seen. As you can see, we've moved straight up from the open, and on the 4 hour chart, this is exactly what I was talking about. When I was talking to you earlier, this bar was all the way down into this band, and it was looking like it was going to close through this blue ATMA. But you've got to take into consideration there is still time left within that candle for that to change. So I couldn't take that as a break of this line, even though it was so far past it, because there was still plenty of time for it to come back up. And it was quite a long way through it, but it hadn't closed through this band. So if it was going to react in this band, it was more than likely going to come and sit above this ATMA, which is exactly what we're seeing. Now, unfortunately, this was the opening candle. This one here. So by the time this had finished, there's not really been any opportunity to get into this trade so far. I said I wanted it to come up to this 710 level where the pivot is, and we're very, very close to that now. So it's unlikely that I will get to trade this, but I thought that was worth showing you. I'll go back to watching, and hopefully we can get a trade somewhat soon. Okay, so we're 5 to 10, and what I'm going to do here is just put a long order just above this candle. So the high is 128.8, so I want to be in at 7130. So I'm just going to put that entry order in, 7130, submit. Okay, so the order's in there, so obviously that starts moving up now. We're going to get triggered into a long position. And the only reason for this is we have had a good move up this morning. We have broken up above this band and touched yesterday's close. We've had a small reaction. We've had a lot of pins back down at this 200, and now I'm looking for a further move upwards, up towards sort of this band up here, really, sort of just below the 7150 level. The stop on this trade, we're looking at about 14-15 points, but up towards the next band we're looking up towards 21-22 points, so there's a good enough risk to reward on this trade. We will probably have to aim for somewhere around 147, 148 to make it a good risk reward, but there's plenty of room there to do so. But we do have news out at 10:30. We're 3 minutes to 10 now, so there's half an hour before we see some news. That could obviously play a part in how this trade finishes if it hasn't got up to that level or stopped me out by then. But failing that, if obviously if it does complete, then great, and if the trade doesn't get affected too much by that PMI result, we don't have any more news until 1 o'clock, so we should be good to go. I would imagine the trade would be finished before 1 o'clock anyway. So the trade's been triggered now. Obviously the sticking point potentially for this trade is this level that we're just coming into now, the previous high where it did sell off a little bit. So if we can start moving past there, then ultimately the target is going to be up towards this blue line here. So we'll see how it runs. I'll bring the ticket across and check in with you a little bit later on. Okay, so 17 points taken there. That worked out really quite well. I think, what was that, 10 minutes? Not even 10 minutes. And trade complete. So, yeah. It was about 10 minutes. I don't know what I'm talking about. There's 3 candles there, so it was at least 10 minutes. Dodgy maths. But yeah, there you go. That was the trade. So, obviously, the reasoning for taking it I discussed just previously, but it was just really the momentum of the trade. I was talking about the analysis of the upper time frames this morning, and basically saying that the hourly wasn't allowing for it just as it was first thing this morning, but the 4 hour, although it wasn't like shouting about sort of bullish movement, it also wasn't looking particularly bearish either. And that was due to, if I take you back to the 4 hour, that was due to this candle here, so not the live one, the candle previous. When we were looking at it this morning, it was down at its low, and it looked quite bearish, but that said, it hadn't closed, so there was still the potential, I was saying, for it to close above the ATMA and then look quite bullish. You know, adding to the story, to the picture, the previous price action where it's made a high. It's made a high, a higher low, a new higher high, and this could just be potentially the new higher low, which is what it's looking to have been actually. So there's that in your mind. Then you go over to the hourly chart, and this was down here at this point, and it hadn't tested the ATMA. Now usually I wouldn't look in my list of variables that can happen. This is an untested ATMA for me because price has moved down, made a new low, and not tested this blue line, this ATMA. So I would expect a test, and you know, there'd be a decent possibility of seeing a reaction there. I personally don't find that price will just close through the ATMA first time of asking, like it has done here. But that said, once this 8 a.m. candle has closed, obviously at 9 o'clock, we're now on the bullish side of the ATMA. So all of a sudden, at 9 o'clock, we're on the right side of, well, I say we're on the upper side of the ATMA on the hourly chart, we've had that nice change of fortunes on the 4 hour where we've looked really bearish, and now we've closed above it, and actually with a bullish pin, we're looking quite bullish on both of the upper time frames now. Then when we go back to the 5-minute chart, we slowly move through this band, we test the 200, we move through it, we come back and retest. Added with the upper time frame analysis, this is all looking very good for a bullish move. Now, something that I always sort of take into consideration is, well, how much of a bullish move have we already seen? I don't want to ask too much of price. You're never going to see too much of a, well, you will. You don't often see, is what I should say, rather than you never will, but you don't often see too much of an extended move one way without seeing a retracement. So when looking at this particular move here, and you're sort of assessing this retracement, does this seem sort of a feasible retracement to allow for a further move up, a further leg up? And really, although this is good price action and it's moved up nicely, this is, a decent retracement. We've come back, we've retested the previous high, we are retesting a 200 that it's just broken, and this move isn't huge. So yes, is the answer to that question. And then you get this decent bullish pin bar. We've had somewhat choppy price action. We get a lot of pins to the underside that test this 200, and then all of a sudden we get this move up and this somewhat bullish close. With a small wick to the upper side. So yes, when you add all these factors together, this makes for a really, really decent setup. Now, of course, it could roll straight over. As we identified, there's this high here. There are always going to be things against the trade. So for me, the two things against this trade is obviously this high, which marries in really with some of the lows from yesterday. You can see this sort of level was tested a few times yesterday, so there's some minor strength to that level, but also this pin bar didn't close quite at its high. There is a small pin on that, and that does correspond with yesterday's close level. So there's two minor points against this trade, but when you weigh up all the factors, is it worth taking? Well, it was easily worth taking this one, and obviously it's paid dividends today, so yeah, a really comfortable trade. I thought that today. It was pretty textbook. Wasn't too. Some setups you can get, they really sort of tax you, especially if your strategy is somewhat complicated, or there are a lot of things to consider when taking a trade, and you're sort of doing this balancing act in your head. Well, is it worth taking, or should I skip this one? And you could argue both points. That's really dangerous ground, because if the trade works, you're really sort of proud of yourself and look at me, aren't I good? I got this trade right. And then if it doesn't work, you can sort of really beat yourself up, and you think, well, there was this saying that I shouldn't take the trade, and there was this saying that I shouldn't take the trade, and you can really beat yourself up about it. So I find often if I do find myself in that situation, more often than not, I would definitely skip the trade, just because I think beating myself up about not taking a trade can be more about taking a trade and losing the trade can be more detrimental to my performance than the opposite. So yeah, that's what I tend to do. But I mean, today that was a really easy one to identify and a really easy one to take part in. So yeah, sort of pretty textbook, that one. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up there. I've got loads to do today. I'm quite glad for the early-ish finish. 10:15, so I can crack on with the rest of the stuff that I need to get done today. But I hope you have enjoyed that video. Like always, I really do hope you managed to take some value from these trades, that they offer an insight into how I trade. I'm not saying that I'm an expert or the best trader in the world. I've just been doing this for a good number of years now. I really enjoy it. I'm really passionate about it, and I love learning about how I can improve and get better as a trader, both strategy wise and the mental side of it. So if my opinions and my processes can help you guys, then great. And if any of you out there have any tips for me, or advice for me or pointers for me, then by all means fire them below in the comments. I'd love to read them. But yeah, I'll wrap up there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.